all of a sudden, my whole life just started reorganizing. And these are the seeds of the work that I do now. I realized that something existential, there was an existential dimension of my being that changed. And thus the entire world, quote unquote, reorganized around me in that way.
Welcome to the Stay Grounded podcast. I'm your host, Raj Jana, founder of Liberate, and it's my mission to help you become the most grounded, loving, and authentic version of yourself that you can be. Each week, I interview experts in the fields of mindset, spirituality, and emotional well-being. My brilliant guests share their tools, stories, and unique perspectives to help you develop the skills you need to show up fully for the people and things that matter most in your life. Now let's dive in. Yo, what's up everyone, and welcome to this week's very special episode of Stay Grounded with my brother, Dr. Alec Verkuilen-Brogan. So this sounds like a very familiar name because it is. Alec is the guest that I brought on, I think 2 or 3 episodes ago. This might be a record for me for wanting to bring someone back onto the show so quickly. But our first conversation was so deep, so nourishing, so exciting. And it led to a lot of deep inquiry around Alec's work and him even actually supporting me in understanding myself a lot better, that I wanted to bring him back on the show. And so this conversation was, I just love recording with Alec. I mean, he's just got such a deep, profound energy that is rooted in so much of his own spiritual practice and how he's gone so deep within himself and accessed so much remembrance that can only, and from that space of remembrance, he shares wisdom, he shares his thoughts, he shares his perspectives. And I think that's what I love so much about listening to Alec speak, to learning from him. I mean, this conversation was so great. We talk a lot about Alec's personal journey, how he started on this path with a profound mystical experience at the age of 15, and how that then led to him learning from Sadhguru, and how that then led to a massive journey of awakening, and how his own life and how a lot of the experiences that he had gone through, shaped the person he is today. And we talk even more about the role that destiny and free will plays. I mean, right before we actually recorded this conversation, we did a deep dive on my Western astrology chart, my Vedic astrology chart, my human design. And so we brought in, I actually got to experience a very real experience of us looking back on my life, looking back on all sorts of different, using ancient maps and systems to actually go back and be like, hey, does this track with the type of life that I was experiencing? And we share a lot about that on the episode. So I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. I mean, I hope this conversation inspires you to get curious about yourself, because I think, when I look at a lot of these ancient technologies like astrology, or when I think about spirituality in general, the stuff that we can't really understand with the mind, like one thing I'll offer as you listen to this podcast episode is put the mind aside. Allow yourself to be curious and just explore a new way of thinking about growth, a new way of thinking about, why we are here and how our lives came to be. Because when you come in from that refreshing perspective, I think this podcast will have just a profound level of insight for you on your own journey of awakening. And it'll give you a system that can empower you to lean into challenge and initiation with more grace, with more love, with more groundedness. So I hope you guys enjoy this conversation. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show on iTunes or Spotify or any of the podcast apps. All that means is that every single time we release a new episode, it drops straight into your inbox. Tag me on social media with your biggest takeaways. Send me a DM on social media. Like, I'm most active right now on Instagram. So if you're not following me over there, get over there and follow me, and just reach out and let me know how this conversation supported you, it inspired you. I want to hear from you. And yeah, I'm so grateful for you guys. I live for these types of conversations. This is truly one of my favorite things to do in the world. So the fact that I get to do it alongside you guys, and I get to experience different opportunities to learn about myself through you guys have given the show a platform, or given me a platform, and I'm just so infinitely grateful. So thank you for giving myself and Alec your attention. And without further ado, here is my brother, Dr. Alec Verkuilen-Brogan. Enjoy. Yo, what's up everyone?
Yo.
Welcome. Welcome back, brother.
Thank you, brother.
This might be the record for how quickly how quickly I wanted to bring a guest back on the show. I just adore you as a human being, man, and
it's mutual.
And just the quick brotherhood and friendship that we've been able to build in such a short period of time, and the experience that I just had with you over the last 30 minutes. Like, what a deep, that's like one thing I've always loved about the podcast is like, it's my favorite way to get to know people. Like,
wow.
Like I don't bring everyone on the show. Like if I bring you on the show, it's like, I just really want to know you.
Wow.
Because it's like, you don't really talk about the weather. You're not talking about the surface level. You're going straight deep. And I feel like you just did that with me with all of these readings. Like we went through 3 of my charts, the Vedic chart, my human design chart, and my Western astrology chart. And I feel like you went to you got to a depth of my being.
I love the way that you just said that. It's very perfect.
It's like, and so I'm feeling this like resonant, just like one gratitude and appreciation for the desire in you to want to know human beings in this way. Wow. Because it goes beyond like just wanting to see, oh, what do you do? Or who are you? Or like, what do you like? It's like you're actually going deep into wanting to understand how they are designed and like to know their design and to seek tools and to gain mastery and tools that can allow you to see people in that way it's such a gift to the others. And like, it's like, it speaks a lot of volumes to who you are as just,
you're so sweet what you're saying. I love it.
So I just want to like honor that, man. Cause like, I fully appreciate the desire to want to know human beings at such a deep level. Like, has that always been a part of your design? Like, was this like the desire to go so deep? Like,
thanks for that question.
When did that come online? I'm curious just to know more about the journey for you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yes, and there was a forgetting that happened for me. When I was about 15, I found myself, and things were good. This man Bud came into my life, my family's life, and he's so wonderful. He's my father now. And he really showed up as this like solid masculine figure. And my mom's always been so incredible. My grandparents, I have a wonderful sister, little sister. So super blessed and grateful for that. But up until 15, there was still a lot of confusion for me. And then one night, everything changed in the biggest way. And it was really like the person that's sitting in front of you right now, this life started. This being that's here, boom, started one night, summer night. I was 15 years old, and I took an enormous, for then, a big dose of psilocybin mushrooms. This is okay to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Cool. And okay, great. Okay, perfect.
Take us where you need to take us.
And I had, without knowing what I was doing, a complete loss of separate self. And it didn't go away. I woke up that next day and still there was consciousness, but there was no structure of a separate self. There was just awakeness. There was just a unified field of consciousness, and it was unbelievably liberating. But I was 15 and I was living right outside Detroit, and there was not a single person in my sphere that had a damn clue what happened to me. I had never heard the word meditation, never heard the word yoga, nothing at all. And I had to basically allow a new ego structure to manifest. And it was a wild ride. And I ended up meeting Sadhguru at a very early age. I met Amma even before that. And all of a sudden, my whole life just started reorganizing. And these are the seeds of the work that I do now. I realized that something existential, there was an existential dimension of my being that changed. And thus the entire world, quote unquote, reorganized around me in that way. Everything changed. Everything. My body, my face, my eyes, the people around me, the entire geometry of who and what I am and what my life was in a split moment, less than that. It's a wild story. Might be for another time. Maybe we talk about it a little bit. But in a matter of no time, everything changed. An existential dimension of my life changed. And that is the being that's sitting with you here today.
It's so fascinating. And you're like, well, I have so many questions.
Yeah. Now, well, may I say one thing?
Yeah.
What happened also is that there was like this dimension of being that in that moment just woke up, and it was like all these rooms within the mansion of being that I am as a person. We all are, but in this one, it was like a bunch of rooms lit up, and I just had this insatiable desire to explore the mystical dimensions of truth. So it was like I was operating at 1%, and all of a sudden I was up to like 70 or 80. But it was not at anything that I had ever known as a person. It was like there were realms of the soul that became illuminated. There was innate knowing. There were novel ways of perceiving life. There were memories of previous incarnations. There were direct experiences of other dimensions of being that just activated from that moment. And that is the seed that has brought me to this work that I do and everything in my life. The seed began there, and it's just grown.
What's, coming back to like a few different lines that I want to go down, but like when you think about the charts, think about like for something of that magnitude to happen, when you look back on your life, was it destined?
Yes.
When you actually go back and look at your charts, can you actually?
Oh yeah.
Which is what's fascinating to me, because we just went through mine, and what's interesting is you talked about how Pluto only goes 250 years it takes to go around, and it's lined up on my stars, and like I actually back at the end of 2020, I had my first big compound medicine experience that woke me up to my soul. It was the first time I literally met the magnitude of what I am.
It's a good word for it.
And it was and it actually changed the way that I interacted with human beings moving forward. And that kickstarted a 3-year initiation of businesses falling down and business partners stealing money, and this entire and all of the relationship initiations. And
now, remember what we said when we looked at your chart. You said that happened, 3 years ago?
Started at the end of 2020.
Brother, Saturn.
Right.
So literally during your Saturn return.
Well,
and you're a 6th line, so this is it. We can talk about it.
Well, but that's my... So what's so beautiful is I'm now really starting to look back with the right guidance and be able to see just how clearly even the mistakes that I've made, the challenges I've called in, were all part of a design to create the being, or to unearth, maybe not create, to unveil,
to reveal,
to unveil, to reveal, to unearth, to unleash the being that is destined to walk this path in life. And I am wondering what happens because it seems like there is a choice point.
Can I just offer one quick thing in this? Let's just contemplate this for a moment, right? When was this soul that you met, right, 3 years ago? When was its origin? What's its origin point? It's certainly not the birth of this body.
No.
So these are the forces that we see when we look at these charts, brother. We look at the forces that arise from a dimension that is beyond the one that we call this moment, that we culturally orient to as now. Those forces have an origin point far beyond this one, this body, this birth, right? And so that's why it's unveiling. There's an unveiling, right? Your origin was not this moment of birth. You have an ancient origin on the level of soul. That's what the charts reveal. an existential dimension that's beyond the psychology.
And that's the piece that's like so not meant to even be understood. It's like it's just meant to be experienced. Yes. Right? Because like
which means you're getting it.
There's a level of mind that cannot comprehend any of this. And that's what's so powerful about this way of looking at the journey of life, right? Because it is a choice to look at life through this lens, with this awareness, with these vantage points. And what do you think is I guess if you think about the purpose of our lives, right? Let's ask a big question. Looking at it from these vantage points and having the awareness that we do have of our souls being chosen in this lifetime, what is the purpose?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So here's the thing, we can go real direct, right? And say that the purpose is the raw experience of life itself that has no content and is just this profound, pure being, right? But let's not go there right away, and let's actually speak on this level that can be embodied, right? For everyone that's listening, for us, what's the purpose? And the reality is it's different for each soul. That's what we see when we look at the charts. Why is this one here? Why did you take birth? Why did your soul choose and enter this moment, enter this body in this time through this mother, right? And we look and we see there are very specific ways to look at the chart and see the desire of the soul, right? If we understand that we take many births, the reason that you're here in this particular birth is different than another birth. The reason why I'm here is completely unique. And this is the beauty of and the magnitude of life on this cosmic and mystical level. It's that the purpose is completely unique. This is what we call dharma, right? You have a dharma. There's a reason that you came here to seek, right? To remember. And it's profoundly unique for you. Now, here's the thing. The moment that you really understand that, and with geometry of grace, there are ways that we do that. There are other ways too. But for us in particular, we really look to the Vedic chart for this big time. And we say, okay, this is what the soul is here for. How can we support you? How can we support you in unfolding and living your life on that level? It's very beautiful. And so the purpose is profoundly unique for each being. That's what's so profound.
And that's why it's just so refreshing, right? That's it brings a lot of peace to me, just knowing that, because I think, I come from a recovering comparisonitis where I was constantly trying to do what other people were doing, trying to achieve success in the ways that other people were achieving success, trying to enter into love and intimacy and relationship in the ways that others, and I was constantly seeking models. In fact, I'll even never forget, like when I first got into business, like I went from being an engineer to an entrepreneur. I didn't follow my intuitive sense. Like I bought courses that taught me how to be an entrepreneur, and it brought me to a certain level of success.
Yeah, I bet.
It taught me a lot of things. But now that I'm stepping into a whole new realm of creation and leadership, it's almost like all of my mistakes that I've made in business, all of the challenges I've faced, all of the decisions that I've had to analyze and make from my own intuitive understanding of how this whole mechanics of entrepreneurship works. Like that is now the thing I'm using to craft my own path with our own product lines, with our own ways of innovating, with our own ways of marketing. And it's like, there's this wave now that feels so unique to me that could not. And so maybe there's even is there a role for models of like modeling off of like where do you draw the line between like following your own unique path and carving it with like having mentorship and having like for you even like like you had Sadhguru and you had Amma and you had these mentors guide you, but then also like you've got your own unique path. So how do you balance both intelligences, because it does seem like they're coming from divine orchestration. Like certain people come into my life for a very specific reason. And so when do you listen and when do you kind of just intuit?
Love it. I love it. So first, I just want to offer this piece that we see the human design as a map to awaken from the homogenized field of culture. It's a map to meet yourself outside of the uninitiated story that we're fed through the culture, this culture that we're born into. When we study the geometry of grace, and in particular, the lens that we see the human design through, which for anyone listening, you'll know if you've studied the human design and studies Ra's work, who's the man who brought the system through, it's very much in alignment with his original understanding of what the system was. It's to help people awaken to who they are outside of the homogenization of culture, right? But here's the thing. The best mentor will help you meet yourself and connect to the innate wisdom that pours forth from the uniqueness that you are. That's the best thing that we can help anyone do, because you are divine. You have a place in the geometry, the collective geometry, right? You have a personal geometry. There's a particular way that when you are yourself, you can connect to the transpersonal geometry. Only you can give that gift. So any mentor that really is with you and sees you and supports you, they're ideally supporting you and connecting to your innate wisdom and knowing and beauty. And as we see, and as you just experienced before we came on here, we did some geometry of grace work, and you see that it's very specific, right? Each being it gets so particular in what we can take refuge in, that is an abode of the self, that we know that we are attuned to our uniqueness, right? Within the presence of this homogenization of culture, right? This uninitiated culture that's just zeros and ones. Follow this, do this. Who are you? Even the person that's listening to this right now, who are you beyond the psychology and the existential dimension of your beingness when you close your eyes, right? What is the fabric of your being? How deeply connected are you with the breath of life in this moment? How far back can you remember your origin, right? Like, take that journey. Take that journey.
Man, like, just feeling so much like metabolization of so many different bodies of work right now. Like, I just have to name that. Like, I've never been in a place where I do so much self-awareness work, and I'm very reflective, and I'm very, like, I seek.
Yeah. But you have the channel of the seeker.
But to bring in a depth of understanding of universal timeline is deeply nourishing. And like, I feel like I actually can see very clearly, like, my life. I can see my life story. I know exactly why I called in every single human being in my life. I know exactly why I chose my mother, why I chose my father, why I chose my last business partner, why I chose this business partner, why I chose Gina, why I chose Vinny, who was my partner before that. Like, there's a thread of understanding that I think is so useful. Like, and I'm curious if you even have any instruction around, like, okay, I have this baseline awareness now. How do I carry this forward into my life? Like,
I love it.
Because now it's beautiful to look back. Like, okay, like, I look back on my life. I lived 30 something years of my life without any understanding of this stuff. Now I look back on my life. I know my charts. I know my design. I'm seeing all my things. How does this now shape the way that I move forward? And how do I not, like, and I think I asked this last time I was on the podcast with you, but I can ask it with a different depth of understanding now. Like, how do you not just follow the charts and and still be present to destiny. Like,
great.
Like,
I hear you.
What is the path forward, actually?
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you for this beautiful, important, poignant question. So within the geometry of grace paradigm, we see the authority in the human design, which, remember, for you, you have a G center authority. It's a very unique, just so you know, it's very unique. Okay. Not a lot of beings have that human design. Okay. But for anyone who's listening to this, please take a moment, pull up your human design. Go to humandesignamerica.com. That's one I like. You can go to Jovian Archive, whichever. Pull up your human design, put in your birth info. Look at your authority. That is the deepest fulcrum for the self-organizing forces of life to organize around. Beyond the mind, there is something that exists within you that is the deepest way for life to organize around you and as you, to create the highest path of meaning, of beauty, of grace. Here's the thing. Here's the contemplation. You have a geometry. You have a nature that exists beyond the mind. The deeper you are in relationship with that, the more in communion you are with the presence of grace. So that's the question, right, that you just asked. It's like, how can I walk with grace? How can I walk in a way that's so resonant, that's so deeply me, right? How can I walk in the highest way, right? And not be in the mind. This is the thing. This is why we study the human design so deeply. Your authority is a refuge for you to take in all times, and life will meet you in the deepest way there. Life will always meet you as deeply as it can. And so if we can meet life and be ourselves as fully as possible, life will meet us there. That's what it does. See, mystery and emptiness have a deep romance. Mystery and emptiness have a profound romance. If we can actively surrender and be ourselves in that emptiness, the mystery of life will fill us, will meet us, will blow our minds by design. And the way that we do that in the geometry of grace paradigm, we deeply embody our authority. We live our nature. Because here's the thing, the more awake we are, the more mysterious life becomes. The more mysterious. People think, oh, I feel more, the more awake I am, the more I haven't figured out. Bullshit.
I fucking resonate with that, yeah.
The more awake we are, the more mysterious life becomes. There's a deep romance between mystery and emptiness.
And so, okay, so in that mystery then, the compass then becomes your...
Whatever the authority is.
The authority.
You type in your authority.
So what are are there many authorities?
Oh, yeah.
Like, are they infinite?
No. So just to name, right, we're talking about the human design, okay, because there are different systems, right, that we use in this paradigm. But in the human design, I'll tell you a couple, right? There's the emotional authority, there's the sacral authority, there's an ego authority, there's the G center authority like you have, there's a splenic, there are many, and they all have very particular, deep ways of showing up in the life. So again, just a name for everyone here right now that's hearing this, like, really, really make sure that you're working with someone that deeply embodies the understanding of these systems. It's so important. There are a lot of people, and blessings to all the people. Everybody's doing their best. And this is not fluffy. Yeah. This is life. And if you can find the right person to bring you the beauty and the depth of this type of work, it can really, 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 really bless your life.
I mean, I'm kind of shocked that, I'm just kind of shocked that, one, I'm confused because I thought I was splenic. And so G is a complete different.
Yeah. And let's make sure that we put in the right info, because you never know. I mean, really, that happens plenty. So.
No, that's right.
It is. Okay. great.
You said it right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 1247?
0047. You might be split.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Nope. No.
Still G?
Yeah.
Still G center.
Yeah, brother. No, you're good. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, I just learned something new about myself today.
Yeah.
So this is also a thing. Don't put in the wrong information in your chart.
Yeah, but it didn't really matter for
It didn't matter for me, but
the profile changed a little bit, but that's it.
Yeah, but well, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Just like,
well, there you go.
So
there you go. Please work with people that know what they're doing.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's because you're, it's funny. I told my mom that I was starting to, play with astrology and starting to look at some of these ancient systems and starting to incorporate the wisdom into, my life. She was afraid.
Oh, say more.
She had a lot of fear because I think in India, people make life decisions based on astrology without incorporating the design.
Boom.
Right?
Boom. There it is.
There's a missing component to the information. So like, people are arranging marriages based on their astrology. They're making life decisions based on astrology. They're there's big life moves, and I think my mom just had this very jaded, but like I think the design.
I hear that a lot from.
I think the human design piece combined with the astrology is what's making this such a unique, interesting stream of data for me to deepen my own understanding. And I don't know if I would have really been able to. So like 3 years ago, I just don't know if this would have been able to land in the way that it is now. So is there foundational work that people can or need to be doing before they can like fully really integrate and land into streams of information like this?
Love it. The work will meet people wherever they are. And the reality is there's an initiatory component to this work. So let's say somebody comes in off the street, they've never experienced anything that we're speaking to, or any of the people in your podcast, all of these beautiful people that you've spoken to, all of these beings. It's just they're totally green behind the ears, right? They come in and they sit down. The work's going to meet them wherever it will, but a seed is planted no matter what. The work is inherently initiatory, literally. The geometry of grace paradigm is inherently initiatory. Why? Because it's rooted in a paradigm that is deeper than the cultural narrative. It's rooted in an existential metaphysical paradigm that just the signature itself, meeting that person's psyche, there's initiation that takes place. The timing of that is the rhythm of their soul, the rhythm of their life, the rhythm of their being. That's their geometry. But if they're coming into contact with this work, there's inherently initiation taking place because of what the work is.
Can we just speak to initiations?
Yeah.
I think they're an important nature to that because, I think we have a culture of not looking at challenge as initiation. And what's so useful about these frames is that it's
implicit.
Like when you have a challenging experience, whether it's relationship challenges or business challenges or money challenges or health challenges, like they are initiatory and they suck. So I guess how can one lean into initiation in a way that leads to the profound awakening of self while also not seek the initiation?
You're right. Yeah,
because I think that there's this also this nature of I fall trapped to this sometimes where I'm like, let me look for the next thing to work on, the next process. So how do you dance inside of just initiation, and what is I'd love to hear just your
I love it. I love it. Well, first of all, let's just name, right? The way to not seek initiation, but still meet it with grace is what? We just talked about, right? Take refuge in your authority. Take refuge in your nature. The reality is this river, brother, that we're in right now, that every person that's listening to this right now, the river that is flowing, that is life, is doing just that. It's moving. We don't need to push it. It's flowing. So if we rest as our nature, things will arrive in their own time. That's just how it is. It's very ridiculous. It's absurd to think that the river of life will stop if we don't stop forcing our mind on things, right? So the question is this: how can we live in a way that is not so driven by the psychological dimension, right, of being? Our culture is obsessed with this psychological dimension, right? So let's cut right to the core. What are we here for as a people, as beings? See, there's one thing that we like to say in the geometry of grace paradigm. We are not people on a planet. We are beings within a realm.
Damn.
Okay? We're
Fuck,
not
Alec.
people on a planet. This is not mechanistic. We are beings, ancient beings within a realm where many have come and gone and many will continue to. So why have we come here? If you are not this body, the initiation, every initiation is to bring us to the direct realization of our nature as an ancient being that exists beyond form. We are transcendent. So anything that can burn in that fire isn't you. Every initiation is pointing towards the same thing. There's only one truth, the enlightened state. And this is a radical thing, and I just invite people to try it on. The only thing that's real is enlightenment. Everything else is fundamentally illusory. The moment of self-realization is just that, the recognition of truth. So what happened prior to that? It's literally illusory. That's the definition of a non-enlightened state. It's illusion. That's okay. It's not bad. It's just not the truth. The moment of self-realization, we come home to the nature of self as transcendent. So every initiation is pointing us towards the direct realization of truth, that we are transcendent. And beyond that is a window, I imagine, even into more depth.
So you just sparked a curiosity for me. Have you read The Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer?
No, I've heard of it though. And I've met Michael.
I kind of want you to read it.
Okay,
I wish
cool.
you would have read it.
Yeah.
The entire premise of the
I'm
book.
very familiar with the process.
So the premise of the book is, he just said yes to life. Good things, bad things, and it led him to, selling $1 billion company, owning an ashram.
I've been to his place in Florida. Yeah.
It's like, and
I sang the Krishna Gita there.
I think there's a part of the story that feels like he's just saying yes and yes and yes, but there's a piece that's like, I feel like there's a rawness to the initiation and the dance, in the moment to moment dance that gets missed in that book. And that's why I was like, I don't know if you'd read it, but I was like, if you had thoughts around like kind of just the moment to moment experience while also staying deeply rooted in like the grand design.
And this is what's so profound. And I really just welcome everyone just to explore this contemplation of the way to be fully in is to listen to the depth and nature of who you are. To be deeply immersed in life is not separate from this profoundly deep spiritual awareness. In fact, these two things are completely related. The only way to be deep in and fully invested in this moment, in the body, and all of these things is to be spiritually awake. See, spirituality is not a disability. Sadhguru talks about this a lot. Spirituality is not a disability. It enables us more depth. We can love more. We can play harder, right? To become spiritually awake is to be completely activated through the most subtle dimensions of being. So that's the thing. And I love your question because this is how a lot of us orient, right? It's like, well, I can't do that if I'm, no. Actually, if we're lit on fire on the level of our spirit, boy, we're kicking ass. We're kicking ass. That's the whole thing. this is where we see this more tantric dimension. And this is an interesting word now, right? In our culture, people hear tantra and I'm not talking about modern neo-tantra. I'm talking about classical tantra, 11th century India, the classical tantric perspective that says we are here to be fully liberated here in this body together with people, building cities, having children, making beautiful love, smelling the most beautiful, creating art. We're here to fully live. That is God. There is nothing that isn't God. So to become spiritually awake is enabling, not disabling. Now, just to be clear, with this paradigm with geometry of grace, we understand, okay, these are maps that we're studying.
Yeah.
It's not the territory,
Yeah.
but these maps do support us in this moment in time, and they show us, oh, this is what I can take refuge in to awaken in this world, not to have to go up in a cave, but to bring my full self to this life. This is where I can rest, this abode of my authority, of my nature. Right.
We are befriending the human experience.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
It's so good, man. And that's why, like, I fucking love, I really don't meet a lot of people like you. And I'm so deeply honored and grateful to just have just such a brother friendship.
Oh yeah.
Man.
So
like,
great.
Pounded,
So
brother.
much
Like,
to come.
I fucking just love you, man. Like there's like,
love you too.
I just feel this deep, like the embodiment of the message and the joy with which you speak this work and the way you teach it and the way that you're teaching others to teach it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
that's my favorite.
That's what's so beautiful.
Yeah,
Like I'd love for you to share a little bit about like kind of the work that you're doing and like how you're empowering others. And like, if anybody's listening and they'd love to, you know, just experience geometry of grace. Like let's
I love it.
really empower that. Cause like
Yeah.
just in the small taste I've gotten of even just the maps. Like I love how you said there's the maps and the territory. Having the maps and knowing how to engage with the maps allows the territory to feel less daunting.
Yes.
It gives you a new dimension of clarity and understanding. So I'd love for you to share
Thank you.
what lights you up.
Oh yeah.
What's alive for you.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, what lights me up the most is teaching geometry of grace. I love it so much. And I will say that one of the ways that makes that really easy are the people that are drawn to the work. I can't tell you enough how, like, I mean, the people that are studying geometry of grace right now are like truly feel like my family. Like I deeply, deeply love every one of them, and it gives me a purpose to be here on this planet. Like truly, it's like every day I wake up with that fire in my heart. And it's a deep journey, you know, like the people that are studying right now, it's a deep commitment. And no, you know, if there is someone that's listening and they want to experience geometry of grace, reach out to Geometry of Grace. You know, that's it. That's what it is. You can go to the Instagram, send us a message, or geometryofgrace@gmail.com. Geometryofgrace.com is the website, but you will know any person that you work with has gone through a pretty deep 2-year program at minimum, and it's rigorous, it's deep, you know, and I really deeply bow to the people that are studying. Now, I hope that if they are listening to this, they just think, well, it's so fun, you know, and we try to make it fun, but it's deep, and we bring that level of depth because we recognize the immensity of what we're serving, and that's life in this moment of human consciousness quickening. And that we are in a time of initiation. And you know what? It's a time to offer everything to that fire, the holy fire. And know, if it can burn, it isn't you. If it can burn, it isn't us. It's time to wake up. And it starts with you. It starts with me. Right? So let's begin that. And Geometry of Grace is a body of work that supports the awakening of human consciousness through an archetypal map. That has, and there's so much to say there.
Yeah.
So much to say.
Well, we talked about that on the last podcast.
Right.
I'm curious if anybody wanted to become maybe even a practitioner.
Sure. Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah, so they reach out. There would be an application process, and there's a lot to speak to there. But by all means, yeah, reach out. It's reach out. Reach out. There's an application process. I imagine anyone that would come through this process would be more than welcome. And I hope you know that the application process is actually a testament to us really being caring, right? It's to really honor that the people that come in, it's this like, okay, like, know that like this is a place to really deeply show up at the altar of a sacred system and a way of supporting people in a really deep way, and a testament to life and the beauty of meaning of life.
Dude, I fucking love you, man.
Love you too.
Oh my God. I just like, you're such I could feel the depth. And I've said it once, I'll say it again. I'm very grateful for our
I'm so grateful too.
And our growing brotherhood, and just for the chance to learn from you, to receive your gifts, and even for the opportunity to jam in this way and share such important work with people in a time where it matters more than ever. And
I love that.
So I just really appreciate you. And got one last question.
I just want you to say real quick, we got to get you back to Boulder soon. Slip that in there.
I mean, you guys are making a pretty hard sell. For sure. Pretty hard sell. For everyone listening, you guys know I've been on this kind of nomadic journey, and I've been extending my trip in Boulder longer than I had initially planned. And
we've got them.
It's sinking and hooking, man. It's because of human beings like yourself. Like, I feel so met here. I think that's like the true word. I just feel really met, like spiritually, entrepreneurially, like even at a masculine level. Like, there's just so many, just a lot that I'm really feeling grateful for. And so, yeah, man, thank you for being a highlight of this Boulder chapter.
Such an honor.
And I really do appreciate you. And so last question, in the midst of everything you're doing, everywhere you've been and everywhere you're going, what is one thing you've done to become the most grounded version of yourself that you can be?
Pray every day. My practice, brother, no doubt. There's no doubt. Yeah, I shared this the other night, but and I'm not saying I've been totally perfect, but I've basically had a 16-year, fairly unbroken sadhana, and that is where my work comes from. That's what supports my life, is my practice, and it's every day. And my relationship with my Guruji, with lineage, with listening to soul and feeling my soul as a bridge to the ancient ways of walking in a sacred way, and feeling held by that, like really feeling that in my breath, in my heartbeat, feeling that in my energetic system. It's like, I know that I'm one of many that's holding a prayer for truth and awakening and healing here now.
And that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this week's episode of Stay Grounded. I'm your host, Raj. This is your now old friend, Alec. And from us, stay grounded. We'll chat soon. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of Stay Grounded. No matter where you're from or what you're going through, I hope it helps you remember just how incredible you are and have always been. If you're on a path of emotional healing or self-discovery and would like to learn how Liberate can support your journey, head to www.rajjana.com/liberate. That is LIBER8 to learn more about our current group programs and one-on-one offerings. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.